So I was wondering, are meeting planners CVB savvy? Do they even know what CVB stands for? So I thought I'd ask them. Planning Meetings has a database of about 100,000 meeting and event planners. I put out a poll and I said, hey, how CVB savvy are you? And I spent a lot of my time connecting meeting planners to CVBs and educating them on what the services are. So I felt like, maybe these results are going to be a little bit skewed. But I found that the biggest misperception is that about 50% of meeting planners think y'all are third-party planners. They think that you're somebody they have to contract who's going to take some responsibility off their plate and maybe jeopardize their job. That's a huge hurdle to overcome. But for the most part, the PYM planners are pretty savvy otherwise. 85% of them agreed that if they're going to send an RFP to a hotel, they should copy the CVB. Why? Well, because it's a seller's market, because if they want somebody to get back to them, it's best to put the CVB person on it. They know that the CVB person can tell them what's going on in the city, whether or not that hotel is a good fit, so they copy the CVB person. 94%, despite thinking that you guys are third-party planners, know that the services you offer are free. And 100% would recommend that you contact the CVB if you're planning a meeting, even if you think you're familiar with the destination. So those are all really good things. So I thought, okay, well, they talk a good talk, but do they actually contact CVB people? So for the people that scored 100%, who were the most CVB savvy in my little data set, I went and I contacted them. I said, okay, well, that's great. Do you use CVBs? And it was kind of a mixed bag. Most of them did. Most of them said, the CVB is my best friend, and I always turn to the CVB, and I always get my information from them. But there was a degree of people, and they tended to be people who were in the industry for 20 years or more, who feel like unless it's a citywide, there's no benefit really, or their network of contacts is strong enough that they don't have to use the services the CVB offers. So I thought that was interesting. And then I wondered, well, what about the administrative professionals? I don't know how it is in other countries, but in America at least, 80% of the meetings in the corporate world are planned by admins. You have the meetings department, and then you have people that the people in the meetings department are trying to corral. And so I did a session, advanced level meeting and event planning for the International Association of Administrative Professionals. I had about 200 people who were not called meeting planners, but who planned meetings and events. And their results were really different. So 80% of the people in the room had no idea what a CVB was. Yet more than half of them had been planning meetings for at least 20 years. Some of them have been planning meetings for 30 years or 40 years. Once we explained what a CVB was, what some of the benefits of working with a CVB was, how they could save so much time, how they could be their advocate, how they could be their best friend, 100% of the people in the room wanted to use CVBs. So that's one of the challenges. The meetings industry is very, very fragmented. Once they understand what you offer, they are all about it. We had an event in New York City a few years ago, not a few years ago, a few days ago, actually, it's a couple of weeks. And we had industry challenges and solutions, and we sat down, and at each table, everyone shared what they were struggling with and one thing that was working for them. And at my table, there was a meeting planner, there was a woman from a hotel, and there was a representative from a newly formed CVB. And we were talking about the challenges were, the planner said that her challenge was that she just didn't have enough time. She didn't know how to outsource, what should she outsource, what kind of third-party planner should she be looking for, that kind of thing. The hotelier said that her big problem was when she got meeting planners on the phone, everything was awesome, but meeting planners don't want to get on the phone, they just want to do everything by email because they control the message that way. And then the CVB rep said that her biggest problem was just explaining to meeting planners that she was there and available and getting them to use her. So we started having this conversation, and what was really interesting was at a certain point, as we're counseling the meeting planner on, okay, that's great, you're a control freak, but maybe you release the things you don't enjoy, or you do this, or you do that, and then she was talking about what she needed, and then we said, hold on, the hotelier and I stepped back and we said, why don't you ask the CVB rep if she can help you? And so she said, well, could you give me recommendations on offsite venues? Oh, of course. Can you help me arrange offsite transportation? Oh, yeah, we totally can do that. Can we do this? Oh, we can create an event website. And it was amazing. We discovered just in that conversation that she didn't need a third-party meeting planner, which fills a lot of meeting planners with anxiety because then they worry about job security, they worry about proving their ROI, they worry about whether or not they're replaceable. The CVB was free, and so it was a very interesting conversation because once they shared how they kind of filled each other's solution set, there are a lot of people in the room who kind of felt the same way. So what I want to do right now is I want to break you into smaller groups. So you can share with each other, maybe this group of 4 right here. There's a group of 3 right there, a group of 2 right there. 3 you guys can break up here. Maybe you guys create a group of 4 and then you guys have like a group of 3, but get in groups of like 3 to 5 people. And what I want you to do is very quickly choose a person who's going to take notes for you. If that person's also comfortable, because we're going to ask you what you talked about, that's awesome. If they're not, find somebody who can read that other person's handwriting. And basically just go around really quickly and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, this is my challenge, and this is something that's been working for us. So share a challenge, share something that's working, and then move and do each person in your group as quickly as you can, because then what we're going to do is we're going to share what those are and discuss the solutions as a group. And what will happen is it's a natural human instinct. You're going to want to say, oh, yeah, me too, or oh, I hate that, or if you resist that urge and let everyone get through, then when I pull you together to share what you found, you'll have gotten through it. Otherwise, you'll never make it through, even if it's just a group of 3. So find your little mini groups, 3 to 5 people. Find a note taker, somebody who feels comfortable sharing, and then we will give you about 15 minutes to get through and just kind of share one challenge and something that's working for you. All right, so I wanted to kind of bring the folks back to the room for a second, because I think that one of the temptations is always you have a problem, you're not quite sure how to fix it, and so you spend a lot of time chewing it over and trying to figure out how to solve it without recognizing that you're not alone. There are lots of other people who are suffering under the same problems, and so it's a lot faster if you can kind of tap into the wisdom of the group and see collectively what's going on and see collectively what might be working for other people, things that you might be able to steal and adapt for yourself. So William has a microphone. So why don't we start with this group that's closest to us. If you're the person that feels comfortable speaking, just raise your hand and we'll hand a mic. We'll go from group to group and just kind of summarize what you guys were talking about. I'll take notes, and if there are some big gnarly problems you haven't solved, then at the end we'll talk about that.
Okay. Hi, is this on?
Hello.
Yeah, it is, sorry.
Hi, I'm Sherry with South Lake, Texas, and we have 5 different challenges and 5 different possible solutions. Our first challenge is hotels. We have one hotel in South Lake, and they don't need or want our assistance. That's always fun. Second one is a tool to give specific meeting planners something to begin the process, especially with sports. The third was, I'm new to the industry and the difference between the sales and sports markets. Fourth was sales and social media, the misperception, bad reputation with the city because of the neighboring city. And then the 5th one was finding leads. And some of the solutions that we've come up with for the first one with the hotels, build new hotels.
If you won't work with us, we're bringing in 5 new companies.
And the second one is with the tool to give to specific planners was printing meeting planner guides and adding sports in there just to kind of give them more knowledge of the different avenues. The third one for new to the industry, they have created fans for the different markets so they can view accommodations. The fourth was sales and social media and misperception. So they did a PR push to educate meeting planners in the regional area. And for the 5th one, we've decided that we're all going to become millionaires and we're going to create a social media site to generate and find leads that meeting planners want to be a part of.
Oh, that seems like a perfect segue for Melissa Washington, who's going to be talking about using LinkedIn tomorrow. Because that right now, that's a fantastic social media lead generator. All right, what did you guys talk about? You may have to hold that microphone uncomfortably close to your mouth.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know.
I know. Yeah, I give you permission.
So we all worked a lot quicker than we did. We just pretty much made it through challenges. But at New Orleans, one of the biggest challenges is really establishing a business voice. So they have an incredible leisure following, but differentiating, two Twitter handles with one that focuses on the business traveler. Then we had, sorry.
That's okay, it's my writing.
Contacting hotels.
Yeah, contacting hotels, so that was the other one. Remind me where you.
I'm from Mississippi, DeSoto County, Mississippi.
Okay, so smaller CVB, and really just being able to communicate with hotels, getting information from hotels. She finds that she often has to pick up the phone and actually call them to find the impact of the conventions and of the events in the city. And then at Visit Indy in Indianapolis, I would say opposite New Orleans, our challenge is getting meeting planners to see Indianapolis as having more to offer than just a box of a convention center. We have an incredible convention package, but then explaining what is there to do after 5 o'clock or on the weekends. And then lastly, at St. Paul, really establishing a business voice that's different than Minneapolis. So, they also have a neighboring city, and I think fighting through how they're different, or really just creating that business voice as well.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, let's go over here. Yeah, you know what? Give each other applause. It is really hard to stand up and be the volunteer to speak. I remember when we first started doing this, there were people who ended up going to Toastmasters because they found why am I shaking so hard? Great, go ahead, Derek.
All right, yeah. So we kind of found a couple different things. One caller said
Medellin, Colombia.
In Colombia, they have a newer. Sorry for butchering. They have a new sales department. It's a new venture for them, so not quite sure what a lot of challenges are ahead. And then we kind of found a similar challenge from the marketing departments is the balance between telling the full story of your destination and helping the sales department tell that full story versus what the meeting planners have time for, really, where we have a lot to share about the destination. A lot of meeting planners are so quick through emails and so quick through different contact meetings. They don't always have a ton of time to really hear the entire story, unless it's a personal selling setting, unless it is a one-on-one at an event, a trade show, or something like that. So really find the balance between realistically what we're going to put into our content for meeting planners versus and having a balance between that and what we know they're going to be able to talk about on the trade show floor is a challenge. And for solutions, we've had meeting planner feedback, work with meeting planners to present. I know at our CVP, we had a customer advisory board, and we presented marketing materials and then got direct feedback and then applied that feedback to our materials. So, but it's an ongoing thing with the way social media changes and the way email marketing changes so often. So there's a challenge in itself as well.
We had a language challenge.
Oh, yeah. You didn't use your little token thing to translate?
He had it, I didn't, so that's on me.
No, that's all right. Thank you guys very much. Great, so let's get to the next one.
Okay, well, we were all pleased to discover that we have similar things that anger us, or frustrate us. So that was really nice. So one of the biggest things was with split profiles, how do you keep your sales profiles afloat when they're kind of tanking, and how do you still find the time for them and make them engaging, and also just getting the sales staff to use social and embrace it and think that it's important.
Yeah.
And Also, marketing and sales just sitting down and working together and sharing resources and just kind of understanding what each side has to offer the other. Because I think each side can kind of get stuck in their own goals and really making sure that they align with one another. And then also shared some similar frustrations with getting your sales team to speak the brand language that the rest of your marketing is focused on. You know, meeting planners and salespeople have a lot of terminology that they use, which is great, but also making sure that when they're selling and when they're trying to help people understand your destination, that they're using, you know, kind of the voice that you've developed, and so that it sounds authentic, and so that when they get to your destination, they actually find what they've been sold. We have no solutions.
That's great. You know, I've actually been writing down some ideas and some commonalities as you guys have been sharing. So it looks like we're going to have plenty of time to discuss those too.
So we talked about a couple things that have kind of come up. I'm Brett from Pittsburgh. One of the things was along the lines of finding new leads was connecting with meeting planners directly. Getting to, you know, along the lines of finding new leads, but really getting them to, how do you find them, how do you get in front of them, how do you get them to hear you? Another thing that has been brought up is that the sales team hasn't fully embraced social media. So it becomes a question of whose responsibility is it to work with the meeting planners on social? Is it the social media person's responsibility, or is it the salesperson's responsibility? And one of our challenges at Pittsburgh, we just hosted an event for meeting planners. We hosted Connect recently. We've got some really great social buzz feedback of all the events that went on and everything that happened. But it's kind of that step of now what? How do you reach back out to these people without being creepy and stalkish? But also make sure that, you know, that doesn't kind of die out. How do we keep that momentum going and use that kind of information? So those are the things that we discussed. As far as solutions, we discussed that question of whose responsibility is it? Is it the social media person or is it the sales team? It's the education of the sales staff to use social and use it as a way of connecting. Instead of it becoming someone else's responsibility, well, I don't do social, it needs to be a conversation of, it's another way to, you pick up the phone, it's the same way of picking up the phone as reaching out and using that. And one of the things, you know, we talked about, you know, finding new leads is we discussed SoMeT was something that we're finding great ways to get new leads. The problem with that is it's just very expensive and gets more and more expensive every year. So those are the things that we discussed.
Well, thank you. All right. Great, so you guys were part of that, really great. So we have 2 groups left.
Thanks. Hi everyone, my name is Colette and I am from Cleveland, and this is my group right here. All these lovely ladies right here. Okay, so we had some themes that have been talked about already. I'm going to kind of combine those and then I'll go through the challenges individually, but we talked a lot about how do we reach meeting planners, what messages are they looking for, how do we generate word of mouth, and how do we engage them using social. So those were kind of like the general themes. Definitely have tried things like working with the sales team, but again, it becomes that question like Brenda just said of, okay, whose responsibility is it? So it's been interesting. In terms of what's going well, Rhonda from Newfoundland, Canada, over here to my right, she said that direct print and social is working well for them. In terms of Amelia from Albany, who's here, she said that word of mouth among meeting planners is really working. We talked a little bit about that. How word of mouth is so important because it is a relationship built and a relationship driven business. So word of mouth is really important. So the question is, how do you take that and apply it to social? And that's really, I think, the big question a lot of us had. Then Emily from Lansing, Michigan, said that they've been doing some personalized videos for meeting planners, which I think sounds really cool and would love to learn more about. And then finally, for us in Cleveland, we're finding that working with our sales team for our media buying approach has been working really well. We do have a lot of conversations about, you know, what media should we be in, what trade shows should we be attending with you. And we've talked about the social media and they get it, but it's okay, how do we execute it? And when we do execute it, how do we get them to engage? I know we've done a couple of on-site activations with actually using the hashtag with Cecilia, and it was weird because the meeting planners would take photos but they wouldn't post them tag. So it's really been a challenge. So I think that was it. Did I represent it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Can we pass off to the speakers in this group?
Oh.
We didn't even choose a speaker. What? So we failed already.
Thank you. No, there's no failing. There's no failing. Look at you. You adapted, you innovated, and you're speaking now.
Oh my God. No, I'm just kidding. I think we have the same thing, the marketing and sales that riff, and it's not like you don't like the sales team or anything like that, but the biggest thing is how do you get them to realize what you're doing downstairs to assist them and stuff like that. And I know when I do social for my team, we try and tell them, just send me a picture, even if you're not on social, although all your children are on Facebook, you don't understand Instagram or Twitter, just send us a picture, tell us where you are, and if you're at one of those trade shows, tell us what the hashtag is, because then we can just go in and piggyback. Even if we're not there, we can go follow that hashtag. People don't need to know that we're not there. What? Who just said that? One of the biggest things, she has a hard time, her salesperson thinks that cold calls are the end-all be-all. So just having people do all those cold calls all the time, and it's one of those, how do we get them out of that old school way of thinking? And I know that for us, some of our salespeople, they have like bunny shows and chicken shows, and those people aren't on social media. They probably don't even have a cell phone or a computer, and they hand you a piece of paper and they're like, here's your press release. And so it's how do you sort of change and adapt to those folks as well. The biggest thing was engagement and training the staff when it comes to sales and marketing, making sure that everybody knows what everyone is doing. She had said that tell them how to take a picture. It doesn't have to be a beautiful picture, but just show them, take some time, work with your staff and let them know how to do some of that stuff. We talked about media, no, you talked about media buying. Engagement, and one of the biggest things that nobody has is time, because we're all trying to do something and all of our hair is on fire going everywhere, but you have to make time for that social media and to do Hootsuite, to monitor and to sort of maybe do a drive-by, give yourself 20 minutes because the engagement either with the meeting people, with your community, or with the visitor, that's all sort of an important thing.
Excellent, thank you. These are all fabulous ideas, everybody. Thank you for hanging out and having conversations about it. There were some definite overlaps, so it sounds like there's a lot of things that we're driven with that are very similar. And what's interesting to me is that it's not necessarily meeting specific. You know, if you listen to kind of like the underarching themes of the conference and things that people are talking about, like how do you find your AVIDs and how do you engage a community and how do you encourage people to share content and how do you like create a team so that you're not just marketing, you're actually part of the political agenda. So what I want to encourage you to think about too is I want to share some ideas that kind of bumped to mind here and some things that I thought were, people were talking about. We can, also hear a little bit more about what's working. But I also want to encourage you to, as you're listening to the rest of the content throughout this conference, the education, start thinking about how can I apply this to the problems that we have in dealing with sales? How do I make that pitch that what we're doing is valuable and that there is something that's important about them sharing their experiences and having an authentic voice? What did I learn from this story about how they created a brand or how they took control of the message? What did I learn about, hosting bloggers? There is like a whole community of events profs, and not all of them are meeting planners, but a lot of them blog, and some of them are very, very influential. So it may be something just, becoming a really good friend of somebody who's an influential who may not even plan meetings, but who has friends who are planning meetings all the time. I wasn't quite sure where to have our meeting in San Francisco last year, so I called up Melissa. Melissa recommended somebody, and that's where we ended up going. I mean, that's how things work. In the meeting planning world, time is such an issue. The first thing that happened in the corporations were they eliminated meeting departments, and that's why Plan Your Meetings was founded 20 years ago, because meetings were still happening, but nobody knew who they were because they weren't called meeting planners. So we created a niche, and we developed that. So it's very fragmented, but what I think is really interesting is that some of the commonalities are this need for a brand identity, a consistent voice, a need for being able to make sure that everybody who, whether they're on your sales team, whether they're on your marketing team, that you're all invested in the same goal, in the same language, and you see value in it, and you see how that contributes to the bottom line. So there may be a conversation about ROI, some metrics that you need to dig up on that. One thing that I think Visit Raleigh does, which is really, really clever, and I don't know how many CVBs do this, is that they actually have an annual client appreciation event. And like we come in and we power it and give you the education and do some of the technology and things like that. But what's so brilliant about that is that, you know, we have events all over the country, and half of the people who come only will plan meetings in their own backyard. So when you think about, oh, I've got to be bringing people in and da-da-da-da, sometimes it's people that are in the state that are looking for a venue that's right there. And so half of the meeting planners who are in your backyard right now want to plan a meeting somewhere, and if you can figure out how you take the credit for that, then that proves your value to your members. And you know, it may not always be an overnight for those backyard business, but it's definitely going to help out the people who are special event venues or transportation companies and things like that. When you're thinking about your messaging, you know, the reason why you can't get through your sales pitch and tell the meeting planners this whole big story about everything you offer is because it may not be relevant to what they're looking for right then. A lot of your sales teams aren't being trained in having an authentic relationship building conversation. The old timers get it. The people who will pick up a phone get it. The people who are coming out of college and then being thrown into a sales position and all they want to do is send an email don't get it. So that's the same kind of set of soft skills that social media addresses: listening, understanding, you know, what the potential, you know, pain points are, what the goals for the meeting are, and actually having a conversation with someone. What kind of programs do you have coming up? What's your goal for meeting? What are you looking for? Oh, you know what? I might be able to help you there. And if you can't help there, then maybe you can be honest about it. But I think that's a conversation that you may want to have. Like, share with them what you know from managing communities, from nurturing communities, from getting people to care passionately about where they are, and apply those to training the people who are handling the meetings market, or apply that to your meeting strategy. Get to know people, get to lurk in those chat rooms and start to see what's concerning to them. I think you all have a secret weapon in your back pocket, which is if meeting planners' #1 challenge is time, and the #2 challenge is their budget, you guys are like the magic savior angels. And if they actually understood what it is and how much time you can save them and how much stress you can relieve just by telling them what's going on in the city and whether or not this thing is a good fit and helping them with their site tours and that kind of thing, like, they'll love you and they'll never stop using you. Because the one thing that I found in common when I talk to people is when they start using CVBs, they never stop. And so, you know, if you're able to kind of break in and create that relationship with someone, you're doing everybody else in your industry a great favor. And fixing those silos. Fixing the silos is a huge thing. Because if you don't, you're always going to be resentful of the time and the resources and like the bucking the brand identity and that kind of thing. You guys are all in charge of doing the same thing, promoting the destination. So it doesn't matter how you're doing it. It's all the end result. So how can you all be more successful? And I think that, you know, and then make it fun. It doesn't have to be like, all right, and now you want to have this 3-to-4 ratio, you want to blah, 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 yeah. No, I mean, it's fun. It can be like an office competition, like who's the most social this month. But if you can get the people inside, and also you can make it easier for people when they're coming in for events to share content, that's huge. Because I don't know any event producer who's on social media who does not sit there and take aggressive photographs of their setups and of the destination and the cool things they find. So they are also out there actively promoting your thing. And if people have a great time at your meetings, or if they have a great day, you know, you don't get to see anything on a site tour, like they'll come back as leisure travelers and they'll recommend you to other meeting planners. All right, so we've got 5 minutes. I was wondering, while I was kind of rattling off those thoughts about things that made sense or kind of seemed like a common theme that we were all kind of experiencing together, were there specific problems or questions you guys had that you cannot leave this room without knowing? Yeah.
I think I really wanted to kind of find the magic bullet here.
Oh.
There's no such thing, but Is there specifically, do meeting planners engage socially when they are searching for sites? Like,
yes and no, yeah, it depends. So what I found is really interesting, like we do events in multiple cities, and I found that the most tech-savvy cities that we're in tend to be cities like Austin and Atlanta and Raleigh and cities that are not Chicago, San Francisco, New York. I find that the audiences that are planning meetings there are less likely to have a Twitter account or be active on social media. I don't know why, because it seems counterintuitive. Like you have these amazing tech alleys and you have tech illiterate meeting planners. But what's working in your favor is that every meeting planner, even if they don't know how to tweet or post or do whatever, all of them are interested in learning because they know it's important. They know it's a matter of job security. They know they have to have those tools. So one way that you can become a best friend is to have social media crash courses to educate meeting and event planners. I mean, that would be like a kind of guerrilla way of kind of tapping into them and gaining that trust. There are hashtags that people use, hashtag event profs, hashtag meeting profs, hashtag meetings, events, and all that kind of thing. But what I found is that if you search conferences that are for meeting planners, you'll see the same names pop up over and over again, and those are your influencers. Samuel J. Smith, Tahira N. Dean, Jeff Hurt, those people. And those are the people that you probably want to engage because they're going to connect you with other people who are socially active. And if they love you, they will share you with everybody.
Could you say those 3 names?
Yes. Tahira works with, I think, British Columbia, Vancouver.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Tahira N. Dean. Jeff Hurt works with Velvet Chainsaw Consulting. His main passion is education. Samuel J. Smith, these are all like individuals, they're my friends, like that's who we talk to. Midori Connolly is a technologist. I would do like a tweet reach report on event profs and just see who the most influential are. And and then you should all call them at once. No, but I mean, the key is with anything on social media, authentic, relevant, engaging, real time, because that's what we're all missing. Meeting planners too, like they don't want to just bring someplace and they want to make sure they can afford the ballroom, they want to make sure they can afford the hotels, but what's fantastic too is another secret weapon a lot of you have is that you're second tier cities for the most part. And the second and third tier cities, meeting planners, that's like the mother lode that they didn't even know they'd hit yet. Because they don't understand, right now, they're getting so much brushback on pricing from big city hotels that if they knew that there was an option where they would be loved and they'd be the big fish in the small pond and they would get this and this and this and this and this and this, like that's what they need right now. So, you can search the hashtags and see what people are looking for. There's also a Miko group. A lot of these groups are very no marketing allowed. Like there's Miko, it's like a listserv, like an email listserv. So that's where people are too. But yeah, you guys feel good? You walking away with a couple of new ideas? All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much for bringing your passion and your ideas and your challenges and solutions and hang on, prosper, friends.